I'm going to preface this video as being quite different to the usual style. Let's start with a screenshot from Wikipedia. Subaru produced 98,918 XTs, XT6s, and Alciones. Surprisingly, slightly over 8,000 of these were sold in the Japanese market. Now yes, that's a small production run over a 7 to 8 year period. But keep in mind, despite what you may think, Subaru is actually a small manufacturer, comparatively, even today. So what happened to them? Where are they hiding? Well, the good ones are tucked away in owners' garages, reserved for nice weather or a Sunday drive. Some still remain, sitting in owners' yards, waiting for whatever comes next. Which brings us to one step closer before the crusher. Junkyards seem to be the final and probably most common destination for these cars. Why does any of this matter? Well, in this video, I want to talk to you about a car for sale. You may have seen it, you may not have, it may have been sold, you may have even been the person who bought it. But regardless, I think the listing is enough to warrant this video. This red 1986 Subaru Xt listed on eBay in the States is the car under the microscope. Firstly, because of its $29,000 price tag, but secondly, it has to be one of the cleanest examples that's only had a refresh and not a full restoration. I'll leave the listing below, but let's start with the description for this advertisement and go from there. Purchased new, developed engine issues in 1991, parked in a garage, covered up and left for dead. Pretty normal story. 30 years later, in 2021, it was sold. That's when I acquired it. Probably didn't pay that much. Underwent extensive work, which included gas tank removed and replaced with new tank and new fuel pump. Engine removed and rebuilt, including heads with valve job, new valve lifters, new pistons, piston rings, every seal and gasket replaced. The turbo was sent to Tim's Turbos in Falls Church, Virginia, where it was completely rebuilt, new turbo inlet and outlet gaskets installed. New clutch, pressure plate, pilot and TO bearings, and the flywheel was machined. Differentials, transfer case and transmission fluids replaced, all new timing belt, gear, idler and tensioner pulleys. 4 new injectors, pressure regulator and fuel filter. New front discs, rear discs, front pads and rear brake pads. It's got a new master cylinder and a complete system flush. It's got 4 new tires, mounted, balanced and wheel aligned. Radiator removed, cleaned and pressure checked. Also new, ignition coil, battery, thermostat, spark plugs, dizzy cap, ignition wires, air filter and maybe a thing or two that he's forgotten. New OEM wiper blade and battery cable, still new in the bag, placed in the trunk along with a roof rack, a bra, I think it's like a bumper bra, and a never been touched spare wheel and tools. He claims the height pneumatic suspension works excellent, the four-wheel drive works, the interior is immaculate, the original paint still shines, no dash cracks. He notes there is a dent on the right door towards the front. He claims all electronics work except AC not cold, not sure it was ever that great. Audio system works, power antenna works, and the car's never seen a body shop, claiming it is completely rust free. A true relic from the 80s and a head turner. He also says car could be rented out for movie sets. Please read payment options, shipping can be arranged. So, pretty well written description and gives a great idea of the car.
Now this is exciting, daring, and different from Subaru, the XT Coupe GL10 Turbo Traction, in which Subaru combines aerodynamic styling and excellent performance with high reliability. There's a fuel-injected, water-cooled, turbocharged engine, on-demand four-wheel drive, plus every imaginable luxury feature as standard. The new XT Coupe GL10 Turbo Traction, a great combination of value and luxury from Subaru.
I hope you enjoyed that short intermission because this brings us to part 2 of the video. Before I can start talking about the eBay listing and the car in it, there's some context I need to lay down. And so to do that, I'm going to cover this off in this part of the video. Basically, I'm going to start by talking about this 1986 Subaru GL10 Turbo Xt. That was a mouthful. In 2011, this car was fully restored. In fact, It was then presented at SEMA. Originally, it was going to be presented alongside the launch of the BRZ, but it was finished early and it was presented at SEMA. And a article by Japanese Nostalgic Car covered it. It's a great article. I will leave it in the video description if you haven't already read it. But in that article, it was referencing another article in another magazine. And so, go to the source, which I tried to do, but unfortunately none of the links work. So I had a look at it and the URL said Drive Magazine. So I was like, oh, okay, Drive Magazine. I know Drive. I've read articles on Drive. Let's go find this on Drive. Drive Magazine definitely didn't have it. Instead, they had this article, Subaru Vortex. Just because it's an 80s wedge doesn't mean it's cool. Written by Rob Margette. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This article is rinse and repeat, ill-researched. No, not discrediting Rob. I'm sure he's written a bunch of other really good articles. But yeah, this one is, he's basically just copy-pasted everything written by other journalists up until this. A lot of inaccuracies, a lot of stuff that's I just don't think worth, picking apart. My only gripe that I can be bothered talking about is just him picking on the name again. So the regional name for the Subaru in Australia was obviously the Vortex. If you've studied any part of aerodynamics, it probably makes a lot of sense. Looking at the car, it's probably an actually well-fitting name. Maybe marketing-wise, it wasn't that great. But, I didn't see him pulling apart the BRZ, Zenith name, which also kind of makes sense. So, odd hill to die on, but, you do what you want to do, Rob. Maybe I can link you to a video that teaches you a little bit about vehicle aerodynamics, and you can go from there. Anyway, this was not the article I was looking for. Obviously, I was looking for the source, and Drive didn't have it, which left me confused. So, I fired up the Wayback Machine. Now, fortunately, the Wayback Machine did in fact yield results. It turns out Subaru had their own Drive magazine with lowercase letters, but unfortunately, most of the links didn't actually work. They didn't proceed any further. I was able to find this article thumbnail, which interestingly says the restoration of a collector's XT coupe, and I tried to find this article, but it was pretty much broken. It has a little bit that talks about it before talking about the restoration. I think what's most notable though is that they refer to it as the Subaru flagship. But we'll come back to this. So Japanese Nostalgic Car have another article, Subaru's Heritage Exhibition at its Tokyo headquarters. And no surprise, it features a Subaru Alcyone because it's the flagship after all. But Japan even kicks it up a notch. They have a dedicated base and program to restoring these cars. So Australian YouTube channel Mighty Car Mods did a walkthrough of the Australian Heritage Collection, and unlike Japan or the US, there was no fully restored Subaru Vortex. I'll link Ed's restoration in the top right corner, but I'm sure for a very, very, very big price tag, he'd happily let the Heritage Collection take that one. But yeah, I think now's probably a really good time for an intermission, so let's do that.
It's called the horizontally opposed overhead camshaft engine, a design so ingenious you'll only find it in 3 places: a Porsche 911, a Ferrari Testarossa, and a Subaru Xt. Test drive it at a Porsche, Ferrari, or Subaru dealership near you.
And that brings us back here to part 3, where I guess I'm going to talk about this 1985 Subaru Other. He even calls it a full drive 80s rally gem, which I'm going to blame myself for. $29,000 US. We'll come back to this. Let's tick off some of my thoughts. We'll start with the negative stuff, and then we'll go positive, because I think that's probably a good way to do it. This sucks. Simply put, that needs to be fixed. This is also a bummer. It needs to be replaced with the factory option. I'm still undecided about this fake leather back seat versus the turbo checker pattern, but maybe it's a good thing. This is cool. This is really nice. This is historically significant. The checkerboard patterned seats are easily the best interior seats out of any generation of this car. Okay, so final thoughts on this $29,000 1985 Subaru Xt Turbo GL10 5-speed. Blah, blah, blah. Just because it's $29,000 doesn't mean it isn't a cool car. Thanks.
Please confirm you have this message